What do you think of Jonathan Haidt's theories around how social media has been so psychologically detrimental to young people's development?
Well, yeah, I've talked with Jonathan a little bit, and I know his work fairly well, and I mean I think it's relatively on point. I don't necessarily think that we're going to find a causal link that is clear and definitive, and if we do, I said this on another podcast recently, the Tom Woods Show. What will be the extent of the effect? So even if social media is detrimental to mental health, and we can establish a causal link, what's going to be the size of that causal link? In other words, will it be a massive effect on mental health, or will it just be a minimal effect? And I think what you'll see is that the effect on mental health is going to be moderated by a number of other things, like how vulnerable is this person already due to trauma in their background, what's their biological sex. I mean, we know for sure that there's a definite increase in mental health symptoms amongst teen girls for those that spend a lot of time on social media and sort of the body image stuff on TikTok and Instagram. So those moderating variables are going to play into it. But as far as sort of a broad statement, do I think that, social media has a negative impact on interpersonal relating and mental health? I would say, yeah. I just don't know the extent of how much that's going to be. And I think really right now we're in a dynamic period of evolutionary significance because we're, as humans, learning how to adapt with constantly looking at a phone or computer screen.
I'm wondering if you have any hypothesis on the connection between progressive politics, social media, and the rise of transgender identification.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that a lot of the trans stuff is amplified by social media. I've written a paper on social media being an incubator for this stuff. I've tweeted that many times and so forth. And so, yes, I mean, a lot of this trans stuff is just simply social contagion, rapid onset gender dysphoria type stuff. The true level of gender dysphoria, as we've known from, early work, is very low. So social media and getting into those niche groups on social media and live blogging, Tumblr, that's creating a lot of this. In fact, most of it, particularly amongst teen girls. So unpacking sort of the way in which it's doing that and exactly how it's doing that, it's going to be crucial moving forward if the research can get done. And I think it's going to be, you just get into a niche group that constantly reinforces your false cognition and delusion. You're going to think that you're a different sex. And, you're already getting into these groups because you're alienated due to your own mental health issues. And so it just is a propagating sort of amplification that, leads to this sort of false cognition solidifying itself, and really it becomes dangerous once you take the next step and you socially transition, and then you modify your body that's irreversible. So
seems to be a growing phenomenon of young females on the autism spectrum who kind of get sucked into these little sub-communities, these little bubbles, and they get love bombed. And then, I've got all these mental health stuff going on. And then we have the answer. We know what's going to fix you. And you hear these detransitioners saying, like, I was guided along this path and there was never another option presented. It seems like, it's almost like some of these people should be serving jail time.
yeah, I mean, certainly there's some influencers that are clearly psychopathic. I mean, Jeffrey Marsh is one that comes to mind. It's just complete psychopathology. And they really are manipulating these individuals who are already at risk for their mental health due to depression and confusion and other mental illnesses. So, it's really a justifiable response to sort of throw out there is to where do you draw the distinction between love bombing and manipulation and sort of grooming? And it's really a difficult thing to consider. I mean, obviously you can't criminally indict someone, or you can't criminally accuse them until you have evidence that they've done something illegal. But we're in this transitional space now where we don't even know what to call this gender identity stuff right yet, and nobody agrees on it. At least on the far left, you have that constant pushback. So until we can wrap our head around this legalistically, it's going to continue to be manipulated and leveraged by these mentally unwell influencers like him.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, it feels so often when you hear their response to detransitioners and them saying, "I feel like I was manipulated and misled, and now my body is permanently, it's been permanently altered. I will." Some of them permanently lose sexual functioning or fertility, and the response is almost like, well, this was still a victory for the ideology, even if it has a casualty. It seems so heartless.
Well, the ideology is a mentally ill ideology. I mean, so that's why you have that kind of reaction from the inside. And that's why the transitioners, the ones who have successfully made it out of the cult, are subject to so much violent rhetoric and pushback from inside the cult because they've sort of been able to excise themselves from that influence. So, yeah, you have that just insane reaction that is driven by this ideology that is grounded in basically mental illness. The whole thing is just a mentally ill phenomena that has taken on sort of a normative signature status because of the identity politics that we're now in. So really what you have, in academia is you have ideologues who are taking mental illness and then restructuring that to be a normative personality again. And so that's really where the problem lies.